And welcome in to the Week 7 Countdown Show, Part Un. I'm your fantasy 4-pack host, Ian Power, joined as always by Matt Vitale and sometimes Frankie Santiago. We're breaking down the first half of Week 7's games for you guys this week. We've got a slate that I'm decently interested in. There's some good teams going against some other good teams. There'll be some tough matchups on this one. I'm excited to break this slate down. Before we get into the breakdown, though, Vitale, do you want to show off the beer that you thought would taste like a Scorpion Bowl?
As he said, I went with a beer called Scorpion Bowl IPA. Nice little can to California style. Luckily, the store I go to hasn't broken down by where they come from. So, honestly, like I said, you said it was very hoppy. I think I like this better than that hazy Gator one, because the other one just had it just had that thick grass taste. This one's a little bit sharper.
Summer IPA.
I don't know.
I don't like West Coast IPAs, so this is.
It's a no for you.
I thought you said you liked it when you came through the door.
No, It's fine.
Listen, it's better. Like I said, the beer I was gonna go with. As I walked out, I saw it. It had Reese cups on the picture. I was like, "What?" And then I turned around, and it was a milk stout. I was like, "Oh."
So this is a Stone Scorpion Bowl IPA. It's a punch to the stinger, as they call it, by who is the brewery on this?
Stone.
Oh, Stone is the brewery. Okay.
Yes.
I dumbly assumed Stone was like the brewing style, like they brew it with stones or something to make it a harder beer.
Yes, they bang rocks together and make beer.
Oh, people do weird things to brew stuff to make their beers different.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty good. I like this one. I think it's drinkable.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Like I said, I'm just still lamenting with the fact that for some reason Frankie has to be allergic to peanuts, so we couldn't bring in that milk stout.
We could just cure him of his peanut allergy by giving him.
I will say you
peanuts.
can also check to see if it's real peanuts or artificial flavoring to make it peanuts, because a lot of beers do that.
I didn't feel like digging that deep.
Right.
Frankie said doo-doo.
But I am also drinking out of a fancy new ale horn.
Ale horns are great. I was going to use mine for this show, but the beer was a little too foamy, so it would have taken. I would have been just sitting here stirring the foam, like Would have been way too in depth. I'll break it up for a beer with a little less head. A little bit of news before we jump into the slate here. Biggest news that has broke since our last show. Ryan Fitzpatrick is no longer the starter of the Miami Dolphins. My heart breaks for him. He is just the saddest man in football right now because he loved this team. He felt like for the first time since he was playing for Buffalo that it was his team and he was playing well. And he doesn't understand why he was benched and he just feels terrible about it. I feel for the man because I love Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's great.
I hate it. I hate everything about it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of this move. I can't. I feel like this puts Tua in a really bad spot because of how much everyone loves Ryan Fitzpatrick, like players, coaches, fans. If Tua goes out there and sucks, or even if he goes out there and is mediocre, but they start losing games, Tua is now the bad guy. He's the fall guy in this situation now. The scapegoat, if you will, because Ryan Fitzpatrick wasn't playing poorly. So Miami fans, sitting there watching their team compete for the division, they're going to blame Tua. Tua's going to get the Josh Rosen treatment if he isn't immediately good.
This is literally the definition to me of if it's not broke, don't fix it. I mean, sure, they're not going out. They're not 6-0, but it's not Fitzpatrick that's losing games. It's their defense getting scored on. And, I mean, sometimes losing a shootout. He's not playing bad by any stretch.
Yeah.
I don't really understand the move at all.
I mean, like I was saying to you earlier, Frankie, worst case scenario here for me is Tua comes out, he doesn't look good. The team is forced to bench him again. And then Tua's confidence is now negative. He is none because he was started for 3 games. He's getting Aaron Donald right out of the gates. Started 3 games, just thrown to the wolves, gets benched again for Ryan Fitzpatrick, and now it's, okay, cool, I was benched for journeyman Ryan Fitzpatrick, and maybe he rebounds, maybe he's very tough mentally, but that's This is just like either it's a bad situation because it's just bad optics for the Dolphins because they benched a guy who's like the most likable guy in the NFL, or it's literally like actually bad for their on the field product and Tua ends up being a basket case and he's out of the NFL in 3 years.
Yeah, I don't like it for Tua mainly, but as I look at it from the Ryan Fitzpatrick angle, while I do enjoy me some Fitzmagic, he shouldn't have gotten to this point where he thought it was his team. Everyone knew, they drafted Tua for a reason. You're there to carry the torch while he gets healthy and gets right, gets his feet under him, and can develop a little bit in the league and get used to just everything goes on the conversion from college to the NFL.
Yeah,
and I think it was the right move to not start him out the gates. And I thought, like I said, the reason why I don't like this is because he's coming off a pretty bad hip injury. I would think that they know that, yes, they're kind of competing for the division, but at the end of the day, it's not like they're winning a Super Bowl. So let your journeyman go out there, give your rookie as much time to learn and mature and get 100% before you put him out there.
Yeah.
And maybe you put him out there when if you're not in the playoffs or something like that, when the games don't matter. And you can put him out there just
like last week when they put him out there after they were up like 24 points against the Jets.
Yeah. I get it. But I said I think the worst thing is the situation you brought up was he comes out there, he gets crushed by Donald and Donald. Sorry, not Aaron, not John, not Darnold. Donald. He gets crushed by Donald and then gets benched, and that could break a rookie that easily. And now that first round pick you just spent him is just wasted because you rushed him out too early. Like, look at the Chiefs. Look at Pat Mahomes. Pat Mahomes sat for a full year, got to learn the system, get comfortable in taking over the role, and then in the offseason they handed him the keys, and then they had a whole offseason to build with him.
Yeah, I mean, like he does not have an easy schedule out of the gates either. Like, he gets the Rams off the bye week, then he gets the Cardinals, who we just saw, just absolutely demolish that. I guess now Dakless Cowboys offense, but they're still very strong, or on paper, it's still a very strong offense. We saw that Cardinals defense look legit. They had teeth. They went out there, they took the Cowboys apart. And then he gets the Chargers after that, who have some really talented defensive players. Like, he's got 3 bad matchups out of the gate. Like, this could go, he doesn't get a decent one until he gets the Broncos on Thanksgiving weekend. And then he gets the Jets again, and then the Bengals, and then it's Chiefs-Patriots.
That's a great way to end the season right there.
Yeah, like I said, the NFC East had a real crap, schedule this year. Like I said, I looked at it for the Patriots. I was like, ooh, like we're gonna really learn how good the Patriots are, sans Brady, because like you're getting a murderer's row out there of players. And like I said, more so the reason why Tua should be sitting on this bench until the either end of the season or just the full season.
Yeah, let Fitzpatrick go out there and make or break this. See if Fitzpatrick can make the playoffs for you, because then Tua gets some playoff experience in his first year. I don't know. I hate everything about this move. I don't know exactly who's going to lose on the skill position side of the ball, but I don't feel confident about any Dolphins skill position players. I mean, Tua didn't utilize the running back at all in college. So like Gaskin, arrow down. He's a rookie quarterback going into a very tough run of it. So I feel like it's Preston Williams, arrow down. Probably Mike Gesicki, arrow down. Maybe the saving grace is he pulls a Herbert and just latches on to Devontae Parker and just buries him in targets. So like maybe it's not bad for Parker, but I don't know. We've seen it before in the past where it's like Fitzmagic he's very good for fantasy. He's not afraid to just hum that ball.
And more
I don't know if Tua presents a better ceiling than Fitzpatrick does.
I just don't see how he could.
Yeah, this seems like it's an all around bad spot for fantasy now. And like I said, like with the statements from Fitzpatrick today, like you gotta feel bad for the guy who is probably on his last contract. No, it's like second to last contract. So
disclaimer: we could be completely wrong, but we're probably not.
Well, yeah, obviously we aren't future seers.
Speak for yourselves.
Mike Thomas practiced in limited fashion today. Noah Fant limited. Deontay Johnson logged a full practice today, which is notable because Big Ben and Juju once again took Wednesday off. So I think it's important to see that Deontay was literally out there in full, no toe, no back. He was a full go. Mixon was a DNP. So hopefully you picked up Gio through waivers, because Mixon DNP on Wednesday puts his Sunday in doubt. You're now watching the rest of his practice reports, seeing what's happening with Mixon throughout the week. Jonnu practiced in limited fashion today. Calvin Ridley and Julio Jones both practiced in limited fashion, but it seems like they're expected to play. Jonnu a little less so. Miles Sanders and Zach Ertz, as expected, are both officially ruled out for the Thursday game.
I'm sure.
And the other big news of the day, Antonio Brown is eligible to return Week 8, and he is being courted by the Packers and the Seahawks.
Aw, shit. Here we go again.
I mean, are you guys excited for this news? Does this news do anything for you? Give you a little pants tent? I mean, those are two good offenses.
Like I said pre-show, I hope he goes to, if he's going to go somewhere, I would rather it be the Packers. I think they can use a number 2 guy out there.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I do think whoever he goes to, it's going to hurt their receiving core, because he's going to command targets. He's Antonio Brown. That's how he is.
I mean, we saw the couple games he played on the Pats. I mean, he looked fine.
Yeah, I don't really think his skills going to be diminished unless, I mean, we don't know how this is a longer time away than he had before, whereas before he had a preseason, then he was just gone and then came back. So it was basically just a short time away from football. This is a little bit longer of a stint, and who knows where his head space is at right now. Like, before, he was just ecstatic to get away from the Raiders and get to, Brady and all of them. I'm actually really surprised that the Bucs aren't in on him. Like, just because Brady, the two of them.
I imagine it's because the Bucs already have like some very locked and loaded offensive options. Let's call them. I'm surprised the Seahawks are in on him. I'm not surprised with the Packers at all. Like, the Packers make a lot of sense to me. I'm surprised the Seahawks are in on him with how good their offense is looking. I think they wouldn't want to upset the apple or risk upsetting the apple cart with bringing a head case in like Brown.
Yeah, I mean, I trust Pete Carroll a little bit, but
I don't.
Antonio Brown has proven it doesn't matter who the coach is. He can upset things regardless. Like, if you can mess up a Bill Belichick locker room a little bit, then I don't have any faith in anyone. Like, Carroll's a little bit, but he's already still a player's coach.
Yeah.
So I don't expect him to keep the reins on him. Like, McCarthy up in with the Packers, it's a long shot, but at least he's going to play with Aaron
McCarthy's
Rodgers.
not with the Packers. McCarthy's
right.
with
It's been so long. Like, it's just like McCarthy, Packers. Like,
I can understand the confusion because you're watching McCarthy ruin a different offense right now, but
Listen. I think it's more the injury to Dak that's ruining our offense. Thank you very much.
no, because that team was a dumpster fire before Dak got hurt.
a la classic Packers. Rodgers doing work, but their team not that great.
Yeah, I hate Mike McCarthy more than words can say.
So
But,
Matt LaFleur.
Yes.
So yeah, I trust him even less. Like I said, I just look at this and you got to pick him up.
I mean,
Like,
Rodgers is the coach in that scenario. So it's, do you think that Rodgers, he's supposedly a little bit of a bit of a dick himself, do you think Rodgers can sort of like put AB in his place if AB tries to, upset the apple cart, so to speak? In
No,
Green Bay?
nobody puts AB in his place.
I mean, from what I've heard about Aaron Rodgers, which, I mean, everything's just through the grapevine because I don't have any connections to the NFL.
Sure, you don't talk to Aaron Rodgers on a daily
Yeah.
basis. You aren't best friends with him.
I mean, I think he's one of those quarterbacks who's going to run the team the way that he wants to. So you can kind of reminiscent of Tom Brady. Like, Bill kind of let Tom go out there and just run the offense. I think Rodgers definitely runs that offense. So if Antonio Brown's just being Antonio Brown, their Packers, like, Rodgers going to be like, oh, well, hey, do you want to do this? Do you want a Super Bowl ring? Like, we got to work together.
I think that he could be a good fit for Green Bay, honestly, just because they do need a second option. As long as he's okay being second fiddle, because obviously he's, the elder statesman now, if you will. He's not going to be taking the number one job away from Devontae. He's not going to be eating into that production. He's going to be the Randall Cobb to the Jordy Nelson. Like, if he's okay being that role, I think he could be a, asset to the Packers. I worry that he's still Antonio Brown, and he's going to. I worry about the chance that whatever team he goes to, he is just a Trojan horse, where he just gets there and all of a sudden there's Greeks pouring out of the horse, and everyone on your team is dead.
Honestly, I actually look at this, and I think, looking at the Packers specifically, I could see where we know Rodgers loves his stats, and if Antonio Brown's coming out there and putting it up for him, and they're both fine, kind of going against what LaFleur wants to do, which Rodgers already shown. If they're both big head cases, and they're just like, let's just put up stats, like I could see Devontae, I'm not worried about his production. I could just see it slip a bit, like him.
Sure, I mean, if you get Antonio Brown, Devontae's probably not getting 14 targets a game, but he's still going to get enough to be a number one fantasy wide receiver. That was all of the big news that I saw, though. Do you guys have any other news you guys want to touch on before we get into the slate?
No, I think you hit on most of it.
The only big one I heard, which is something to keep note of if you're an Eckler owner, is the coach.
Oh, true. Yes,
the coach did come out and say that he is going to be out for longer rather than shorter. So expect more of 5 to 6 weeks as opposed to the 4.
Anyone who is expecting 4 weeks I traded Eckler to Frankie based on this assumption. Frankie was aware of this when I traded to him, but anyone who's expecting Eckler to come back in week 8 when he's eligible to come back is dumb. They're just like, I'm sorry, you're dumb, or you're actively deluding yourself. Like, this was always a 6-week injury. He was always coming back after week 10.
I'm sitting here scheming, just playoffs.
Yeah, he was always a playoff. Like, after he got hurt, Eckler was great. I love Eckler.
That schedule is great.
Amazing schedule. After he got hurt, he was always just a playoff chip. This was not a short-term injury. It was always 6 weeks is the target, because what everyone was saying when that injury happened was like, wow, he might have tore his hamstring off the bone. Like, the fact that he didn't and he's able to come back in 6 weeks is a miracle in and of itself.
Also, that's gross.
Yeah. Like, Eckler, this was always a 6-week injury. No one should be shocked Pikachu face over Eckler not coming back in 4 weeks.
What about shocked Sonic face?
Yeah, like I said, it's one thing that came out this week. For people who aren't as tuned in, maybe if you were looking at Eckler, if you're coasting and you feel like you're comfortable with the playout, like if you're at 5-1, 6-0, yeah, go trade for Eckler.
He's someone who I'm actually he is a buy low for me right now. Him and Nick Chubb are both buy lows for me if I am a 4-2 or better team, because if you can weather those injuries, Nick Chubb and Austin Eckler are playoff winners for you. Those are championship winning running backs that you can probably get for next to nothing from their owners compared to what they would normally cost you, because their managers are like just speaking from experience, they're hemorrhaging fantasy points. They need wins. So like, yeah, if this is the time of the season when people start getting mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, go talk to your Eckler or Chubb managers. If they haven't been moved already, see if you can, trade them less than what they would get for normal market value for them, under the guise of, this helps you get wins now. Would you rather make the playoffs or go 3-10?
I am unfortunately not in that situation.
Yeah, because you already have Eckler.
I know.
You traded low for him, Frank. You traded basically Kenny Golladay and a cheeseburger for Eckler.
Hey, Ferentz was...
You traded nothing. You did not. I did not trade Eckler for market value to you.
Oh no, not.
But actually, just a sidebar real fast, so we can give actual advice on what you would trade. So Frankie traded me Kenny Golladay and Noah Fant for Eckler and Joshua Kelly. And Joshua Kelly being part of the deal was actually, and Mike Williams. So yeah. I did give him a chunk back. But if you guys are going out, seeing as you guys are both in that spot where you guys could trade for an Eckler or a Chubb, what's the cutoff for you guys for what you're giving up for one of those running backs? Are you giving up a Allen Robinson for one of those running backs? Peppered with targets, but he is still getting thrown to by either Nick Foles and or Mitch Trubisky?
So, are we talking straight up or in like a package?
Let's assume straight up, because most people I feel like weren't as high on Joshua Kelly as I was. So a lot of people aren't pairing Joshua Kelly with Austin Eckler unless they won the bid on him. And a lot of teams, because of injuries, probably don't have the stock behind them to package things with them. Let's say you're just doing straight up 1-for-1. You're just trying to turn one of your assets into a running back that could help you win the championship.
Are
you guys trading Allen Robinson for him?
No, just based on Well, okay.
Just in a vacuum. Where
In a
obviously every situation is different. Are you guys trading Allen Robinson for him based on what you've seen so far?
No.
For me, that might be my height, but I think I've got my bar, and like I said, this slides based on person, but I'm selling a low-end 1 for wide receiver or a mid running back 2 for him.
Kenyon Drake?
I am
Yes.
shipping
Yep.
Kenyon Drake
Yep.
out the door.
For either of them?
Yeah.
Mike Evans?
Yep.
Yep.
Chris Godwin?
Nope.
Okay.
For me, that's a maybe. It would that one's circumstantial, but everything else.
Let's do one more. Amari Cooper.
Yep.
Yep, he is express mailed out the
He's
door.
actually someone who I'm a sell high on right now. I think that while the Cowboys might not look as bad as they looked last week.
He had a great game last week.
Ooh, that was really close to being a horrible game for Amari Cooper and the Cowboys offense as a whole. Like Zeke, I'm holding on to because I don't think you can do better than Zeke. You're not going to get market. You're not going to be happy with your replacement for Zeke unless you can flip him for like Derrick Henry, Aaron Jones, or something like that. But you probably can't. But like those receivers, I mean, Gallup is dead now. You can't get anything for Gallup. CeeDee Lamb and Amari Cooper, though, I am trading them immediately. I do not want to be tied to that Cowboys. Andy Dalton looks like he forgot how to play football.
Yeah, like if I'm selling Amari Cooper, I am just talking about how Andy Dalton for a long time was able to support AJ Green in his great years.
And look how great he did against the. He locked onto him. I think he got like 7 catches for 79 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, look at that. It looked fine. Just hope they didn't watch the game.
He's an easy sell. Yeah, as long as someone didn't watch the night game on Monday, which there's a chance, especially if you're East Coast, people have jobs, they can't stay up until midnight watching football. Good chance they didn't see Andy Dalton look like he forgot how to play football. Yeah. Trade your Cowboys. Obviously, don't just give them away, but if you can get good value for them, trade them. All right, let's get into this slate here. We have dilly-dallied long enough. And unfortunately, we have to talk about this first game on the slate. It's a 45-point total. The Eagles somehow are 4.5-point favorites over the New York Giants.
I think it's because they're the Giants.
Yeah, but the Eagles just lost 2 more people, which means that now the Eagles have literally Travis Fulgham, Boston Scott, and I think they might be running 1 wide receiver, 1 running back sets, and just putting extra linemen out there so that Carson Wentz can wait for one of them to somehow get open. I don't know who they're assuming that the Eagles have to run, your standard two wide receivers, 2 tight ends, 1 running back, or 3 wideouts, 1 tight end, 1 running back. I don't know who they're starting in this game. Travis Fulgham is a lock. Greg Ward's probably going to be out there, even though he's been terrible. Boston Scott's their only healthy running back. Corey Clement's still there, but when's the last time Corey Clement's been relevant? This is the island of misfit toys of fantasy football. What are they actually going to use against the Giants that is trusted?
If you want to find out who was trusted, turn into our waiver show next week.
Yeah, it's literally just Travis Fulgham. He's the only one I'm starting.
Yeah.
And Boston Scott, just because a running back is a nightmare right now. Boston Scott, because in Frankie's league, I'm in a bind right now. I just traded for Jonathan Taylor, but he's obviously on a bye. So I have to start. My running backs this week are Boston Scott and Devin Singletary, and I want to jump off a balcony.
Hey, Devin Singletary is a good matchup.
Yeah, great. Zach Moss is back.
Yeah, this whole matchup's just gross. And looking at the Eagles, Boston Scott was on all the reports, and he should have been picked up for good reason.
I actually got him.
But
I got him in all of my leagues that I tried to get him.
yeah, I was like, granted,
Nobody wanted him. I have in leagues where I went for him, which is 4 of my 7 leagues, I have 100% success rate on Boston Scott, and I was a 6th or lower waiver priority in almost all of those leagues. Nobody wanted him.
Yeah, Thursday night against the Giants, if Sanders was down for the rest of the season, I'd entertain some Boston Scott, but
He's looked bad though.
yeah, that's the other part. Is he's clearly not Sanders. He's not showing what he was last year. Boston Scott last year looked great. He doesn't look great this year. The Eagles don't look great this year. This is going to be a gross matchup. I think literally the only person I would start, because I'm not scared of the Eagles defense, is Slayton. Slayton, maybe Tate.
Slayton might not play.
What
Slayton
about,
might not play. Tate's look bad.
what about Evan Ingram?
No, Evan Ingram's been bad. I mean, because tight end is such a crapshoot. If you don't have a better option, I'm fine rolling Evan Ingram out there, but I'd rather start Jimmy Graham.
I might want to start Dawson Knox over him, like against the Jets.
I'd rather start Jimmy Graham. I'd rather start Austin Hooper. I'd rather start Jared Cook. I'd rather start Hayden Hurst.
Yeah,
There's a lot of spot start tight ends this week that I would rather have than Evan Ingram, because Evan Ingram just looks like he just can't get it done for whatever reason. With opportunity, he can't get it done. Darius Slayton might not play. Golden Tate looks washed. I immediately retract everything I've said about him in the past. He looks like he cannot, like, he's getting targets, but he looks like he's a catch the ball and go down sort of guy now.
Yeah, I'm taking the Eagles here just because.
Devonta Freeman's the only Giant I'm starting in this game.
Yeah, it's
Unless Darius Slayton plays. If Darius Slayton plays, he's in play. But
yeah, Danny Dimes is going to fumble the ball 5 times anyway, so.
yeah, the Eagles defense might be an interesting play this week, just because Danny Dimes loves to give the ball to the opposing team. He is a massive fan of that. He's like, how many times can I do it today?
Yeah, just based on games I've watched, he might as well just go on the field and just hand it off to him.
Why does this feel like, even though it's going to be such a garbage game, it's somehow just going to be a shootout? Like, both teams are just going to, their defense is just not going to get, like, they're going to turn it over so much and just keep handing the ball back to each other that someone's just going to eventually, like, it's going to be like flag football where everyone's getting tired. One guy just throws it up and the defender's like, just let him run it in. I don't care. Like,
Actually, I doubled down on just following my standard advice of start your home defenses on Thursday Night Football. The Eagles are at home against the Giants. So my plays in this game are Travis Fulgham, the Eagles defense, and Devonta Freeman. That's it. Let's move on to a much better game. 45-point total. 13.5-point favorites, the Buffalo Bills. All right. This is a get-right game for Josh Allen.
I would not exactly call this a better game.
It's a better game for fantasy purposes.
yeah, hope you picked up Buffalo's defense. Like,
This is going to be a slaughter.
yeah, like, as somebody who, like, in our league where we have a little bit short of a bench and we're in a 12-team league, I was like, I really wish I could pick some people up, but I'm not dropping the Bills.
We
And
don't
I'm
have
not
short bench anymore. I Commissioner Power lengthened it to help people with the issues of all of the COVID games.
All right, well, it still feels short because I feel like I got no one I can drop. Like, but anyways, like, I'm sitting there holding 2 defenses right now because I'm not dropping the Colts because they've been playing too well, and I'm like sitting there like, I'm not giving away Buffalo to somebody else. I don't care. I got Colts on a bye.
Sure.
Like, I'm not giving up that sweet Jets game.
So there's no Jets you're starting. Maybe Jamison Crowder, but Rashad Perriman's back, so you don't even know if he's going to maintain his volume. So there's no. Let's just operate in the assumption there's no Jets you're starting. Buffalo Bills, you're starting Josh Allen, you're starting Stephon Diggs. Who else are we talking about in this game? Don't tell me Dawson Knox. I'll throw a can at you.
I was going to say that because if you
No, you can't keep trying to make Dawson Knox a thing. Look at his game report, Frankie. He gets like 3 targets a week in good matchups. He is not a fantasy asset.
But what about in really bad matchups where the defense
He is
doesn't
like
try?
the 5th option on that team.
I feel comfortable starting either Zach Moss or Devin Singletary because I think the Bills are going to go up big. So
I'm actually agreeing with you there.
They're going to be running the ball a lot.
I think that if you were in a need of a spot, especially because this is the start of bye week hell, if you're in need of a spot start, John Brown, Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, Cole Beasley, all of these guys who are like, basically bench fodder for the most part, startable in this game.
You know what? I will say.
I mean, Zach Moss, the Bills didn't really get into the red zone much in their last matchup, but like Zach Moss got the red zone carry again. And he was getting that before he got hurt. Like, tell me I'm wrong for saying I could see Zach Moss having a stat line of like 7 carries for 27 yards and 2 touchdowns.
We saw week 1 with J.K. Dobbins.
Like, Zach Moss is their fall into the end zone guy.
Yeah, like I said, the only reason I think this could be bad for Bills players is because, like, Diggs or John Brown could just take one to the house and then
Diggs is a ceiling guy for me this week.
Like, I think the big thing that keeps this team down is because the Jets suck so much. There is no one to run it back, so you're not getting a shootout. You're getting like we're going to go up 2 scores and then just slowly grind this out.
The reason why I think everyone's in play in this matchup because you don't know who's going to get the points. You assume it's going to be Diggs, but other people are going to contribute most likely, unless Diggs just puts this out of reach with like 3 75-yard touchdowns in a row, and you're like, all right, that's game.
Yeah, you could see what happened to me last week with Gesicki and Parker, where Parker got that long catch.
I could easily see Bills being benched in this game because it's like 31-0 at halftime.
Yeah, I mean, that, again, exactly what happened to me last week.
Yeah. Well, but the
Just
Bills
like
are better.
you
The Bills are a better offense than the Dolphins. Like,
Yeah.
All Bills are in play this week for me, but they all have very high ceilings and very low floors relative to their ranking because we've seen it literally last week. If they run away against the Jets, maybe that's a bump for Zach Moss. Maybe Zach Moss gets some extra run in this game because they're just sitting there starters.
Rev up your Zach Mosses, boys.
I really like Zach Moss this week as a
and
spot
ladies.
starter. Green Bay Packers, Houston Texans in a much more competitive matchup, 57-point over-under. The Texans are 3.5-point underdogs in this one, which I'm kind of surprised about given how the Packers got their lunch fed to them last week by the Buccaneers.
I think this is going to be a Aaron Rodgers revenge game. This is the start of the revenge tour.
The Texans have looked good, though.
Lately?
Yeah. It coincides with the firing of Bill O'Brien, butt chin himself.
Yeah.
I mean, they did not look good week 1 against the Chiefs.
Okay. That was when Bill O'Brien was still there. We can't use week 1 and week 7, Frankie. There's been a massive shift in
Barring
thought and play style on this team, and that massive shift is them getting rid of Bill O'Brien, the anchor that was weighing this team down. A boat can't go anywhere with the anchor dragging on the bottom of the harbor.
barring any injuries, same players are still there. I do agree with the Bill O'Brien point that it is a different team in that sense, but
I like Brandon Cooks in this one.
I like Brandon Cooks. Honestly,
I'm down on Will Fuller. Jair Alexander's been really good, this season. Will Fuller is still a volatile player to me. You're gonna feel bad if Will Fuller goes off on your bench because he's a one play sort of player. If I have better matchups this week, I'm sitting Will Fuller because we've seen Jair Alexander shut down better receivers than him.
I still start him with some confidence. Just like Jair Alexander has looked good, but just this matchup is going to be a shootout, and I don't know if you can afford to sit him.
But the Texans could shoot out without using Will Fuller. We've seen Fuller pull a disappearing act before.
Their tight ends have looked good
both
lately.
with and without DeAndre Hopkins. Randall Cobb is still on this team. Kiki Kuti is still on this team. Brandon Cooks is there, and he's been doing well since Bill O'Brien left. David Johnson is still there to run the rock. This isn't a hard matchup for him to run in. This could easily be a game where, because wide receivers aren't the most consistent bunch in the world as far as fantasy purposes. Fuller could be blanketed, and maybe he gets like 3 or 4 for like 57, and you're okay with it. But that's why I say, depending on what you have for your other starts, I'm okay benching Fuller in this one. Obviously, if you don't have anything better, you don't bench him. But he's someone who I'm willing to play the matchup game with this week. He's not quite in the start your studs territory to me.
Yeah, I agree. It's pretty much. I mean, I've never liked Fuller anyways.
I'd play Deontay Johnson over him if Deontay Johnson's fully healthy this week against Tennessee,
Yeah.
who gives I think the second most fantasy points to wide receivers in football.
Yeah, I mean that's
you could talk me to starting T. Higgins over him this week, who gets Cleveland, and they cannot cover the wide receiver. They are the 30th worst team at covering the wide receiver.
T. Higgins is a little more legitimate. I feel like Deontay, managers, especially with 2 solid buys this week and a lot of injuries that have happened, I would be surprised if you're sitting there where you have those guys and you have you have both of those guys going and you can start. I figure if you're a manager with Fuller and Deontay, there's a good chance you're starting both of them.
So I'll give you my team as an example. I have Kenny Golladay, DJ Chark, Deontay Johnson, and T. Higgins on my team. I would start literally all of them over Will Fuller this week. Will Fuller is someone who I am willing to bench because I'm scared of this matchup. And I think the Texans have enough weapons on their team where they can still shoot out in this one without utilizing Will Fuller. Darren Fells is still there. Jordan Akins might not play this week, which means that Darren Fells gets a bit of a bump. We've seen him be. I mean, literally last week he was a great fantasy contributor. He works well within that offense. I'm worried there's too many mouths in that Texans offense in a matchup where Will Fuller could be taken out of it, where they're just like, okay, we'll just use our second and third wide receivers. Are there any sneaky Packers you guys are looking at this? Are you guys back? Are you guys back on the Tonyan train this week?
Pretty much usual suspects. I mean, Tonyan.
Lazard's not playing this week, so really the sneaky suspects are like Tonyan or MVS. Are you guys playing either of them this week?
Tonyan, if you really need a tight end, but I might go with Fells over
maybe
him.
You're a Jonnu manager and you don't have Jonnu this week.
Yeah, I'm. Once again, you know me. I'm anti Rodgers tight end. I'd rather start with Fells.
You're like, I will leave the position blank before I start a Packers tight end.
I mean, for years, that's basically what it's been. The same thing.
Yeah. All right. Let's jump to the next matchup here. Another high total. Divisional matchup. Panthers-Saints, 51-point over-under. The Saints are expected to curb stomp the Panthers. 7.5-point favorites. I was a little confused at first with this line. And then I saw today's practice reports and saw that Mike Thomas was practicing limited. He was already sort of expected to be back this week, but him practicing in limited fashion does point towards a return this week to me. I mean, the Saints secondary is suspect. So I don't think that the Panthers are going to struggle against them. This one I'm very interested in for fantasy production. I think this one could be messy if you're relying on one of their defenses for some reason. This one could be a track meet.
Yeah, I saw a lot of their defenses, or at least for the Saints, I saw their defense up there for projections, and I was definitely going to pass on that one. Like I said, I think this is just going to be the Panthers are going to show that they can at least produce, but I don't think they can hang with the Saints, especially with Mike Thomas. So for me, it's just you start. I think this is a simple game. You start your studs. I don't think you get too cute, and just go from there. Like Manny Sanders, if you need him.
Based on the total in this game, I'd be okay with Manny Sanders. I think the one, maybe you can kind of call it a sneaky play just based on the fact that he's been kind of up and down and he was hurt. I really like the return of Mike Thomas because I think that this opens up Jared Cook as a legitimate play this week. And just for the rest of the season as a whole, because Jared Cook is older. He's not quite the tight end he used to be.
He is seasoned.
Mike Thomas being on the field draws more coverages, opens up Jared Cook to be the top 7 tight end he was drafted as. I like him as honestly, I like him as a top 7 tight end from this point on in the fantasy season. I recently actually just re-added him with the assumption that things are going to open back up for him a little bit with Thomas back on the field. The only person I'm a little sad for, although I think he still has a fine ceiling, is just not going to be the winning the week by himself ceiling. Alvin Kamara does lose some value with Mike Thomas coming back.
I thought about that. His ceiling creeps down a little bit, but the big thing that Mike Thomas brings that will help, and I think that's just less drives at end. Like you're gonna have a lot more extended plays because Mike Thomas will be able to pick up.
But it's also more passing volume going to Thomas. I think it's good for the offense as a whole, and I'm by no means saying sell Alvin Kamara. I'm just saying I think Alvin Kamara because he has shown he's capable of being the driver of that offense. Mike Thomas coming back shifts that a little bit from him. It does take away some of his ceiling. I think it makes his floor better though.
Yeah, because I think the big thing that we saw with a Thomas-less Saints was that Kamara could get it done, but they still needed some short yardage fields. They needed Kamara breaking open big plays. They needed a couple key catches from from Sanders. I think you're going to see a lot more. I think his yardage totals come down. I think his catches and his yards come down, but his touchdowns should stay steady because they'll be getting in the red zone.
His touchdown upside probably increases because they're going to be having more red zone trips with Mike Thomas on the team on the field.
Reverse side of the ball. if you guys have Mike Davis still, for whatever reason.
I'm starting Mike Davis.
Yeah.
I'm starting Mike Davis. I love Teddy Bridgewater as a stream this week. DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson are both in play. Like, you know, I like high totals. If you're talking to me about a game that has a 50+ total, I'm interested in most of their options. You know, it's an easy sell for me. Pittsburgh Steelers, Tennessee Titans, 50.5 point over under. This one is a very close game. It's a 1 point spread in favor of the Titans. Titans are 1 point favorites in this one. I don't like, honestly, I know I just said 50+, I'm interested, but like, this one scares me. The Titans defense, so the Titans defense is sus. They aren't great at stopping things. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense is. But the Titans have really explosive offensive weapons. So I'm constantly just metronoming between like, well, that Steelers defense is terrifying, but so is Derrick Henry. Like, so, I don't know what to expect from this one, honestly. Like, I mean, because like, you're not sitting Derrick Henry, so there's no discussion there. You're probably not sitting AJ Brown, but I feel like 50 is a high total.
I was gonna say, yeah, realistically, from a fantasy perspective, what can you like? I mean, Derrick Henry's obviously not going to carry the load like he did last week. I mean, he's not going to have another 94-yard touchdown. What do you like, numbers wise? What do you expect out of Derrick Henry this week?
72 and a touchdown.
I was gonna say I was gonna say more like 58 and a touchdown.
Yeah, I can see that.
He can't get much yardage, but he's still Derrick Henry, so he just punches one in close to the goal line.
Like, I think this is going to be like, he's still going to get his work. I think they're going to try and force the Steelers open by, trying to pummel them on the ground because, that's the big thing that Derrick Henry.
The Steelers are best though.
Right, that's where they're the best. But it's Derrick Henry, and as they talk about with run heavy offenses, it wears down on you when you see the same guy bull rushing through you, play after play after play after play. It demoralizes the defense. So I could see them softening up the line a little bit and then trying to open up something deep for AJ Brown.
I'm worried that this Steelers defense can't be demoralized because they are just that good, and then two, I'm worried that because they're really good against the run, that the Titans come in with a more pass-happy game plan in this one. I mean, they have Adam Humphries back. I believe they're getting Corey Davis back this week.
They should be, yes.
Obviously, they're missing Jonnu, but Fursker looked like he was a perfectly serviceable stand-in last week. I'm worried that they have the options to go to outside of Derrick Henry, that Derrick Henry just becomes a normal, safe floor running back this week.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to do anything big. It's going to be like we were talking about, probably.
I mean, it wouldn't shock me if Derrick Henry has a bad week.
Oh, I mean, I
could if he. I think if he does not find the end zone this week, his week is going to disappoint.
Yeah, it's going to be 50 yards, maybe 70, if he doesn't get that touchdown. Unless he somehow gets a big run, then your week is saved again. But
and then Steelers side of the ball, there's a lot of obvious plays in this one. The one that I'm curious where you guys are at on, mostly given the total, and the Tennessee defense's lack of ability to stop wide receivers, do you give Juju one last shot in this game? Because you're starting Deontay if he's fully healthy, which sounds like he will be. Chase Claypool has been too explosive to not play. Are they the two receivers you guys start now, or are you giving Juju a spot start this week and hoping he can pull something out?
I am giving him a spot start mainly on the touchdown upside here, and I think
the Titans do suck against the slot.
They're not great against the slot. Juju is still talented. I think this is one where he could sneak one away for you. I'm not confidence is not there, but if you're a Thielen owner, if you're a Justin Jefferson owner, if you're owning, if you're starting T.Y. Hilton still, one
of the few receivers drafted in that range who I have less confidence in than Juju.
If you need him because bye weeks are hitting and so are injuries,
I'm fine with him in your flex. Like, he is the last guy you go in if you can find something like.
Yeah, I would say
Fuller. I would start 2 Fullers over this guy.
Fuller is in many plays before Juju for me.
I would say
I'm starting Travis Fulham ahead of Juju.
I would say I'll throw him in my flex. I won't start Travis Fulham because it's on a Thursday game and I don't like doing that. But if I can pick up somebody in a later game, maybe that has maybe a little bit higher upside and looks a little bit better.
I'm just looking at Juju's DraftKings price here. I'm going to give you guys some plays in Juju's range this week. Actually, I think that he's wildly overpriced, so I'm going to scroll down a little bit. He's 5,500 this week on DraftKings. I'm going to scroll down a little bit and give you guys some plays below his price because I don't see any players around his price that I wouldn't play over him. Mike Williams or Juju Smith-Schuster?
Yes. It's Mike Williams, but
I am a Mike Williams fan. They are playing the Jags.
Mm-hmm.
You got to ride the high end, so I guess Mike Williams.
Julian Edelman or Juju Smith-Schuster?
Jules has looked rough.
So
Like,
is Juju.
But the Niners have not looked great.
They have not. They are also 13th worst against the pass.
As much as I love to shit talk the Patriots, because you guys, have that thing on the wall.
Yep.
Yeah, no.
My beautiful banner.
Yeah, no. I'm taking Jules here over Juju.
Deebo Samuel or Juju?
That's not even a question.
Okay.
yeah, Debo's a definite.
Let me make this a little-
Jules, I am taking Juju over Jules.
Well, we've been almost uniform so far, so let me make this a little bit tougher for you guys. I'll throw like 2 more names at you guys. Tim Patrick or Juju Smith-Schuster. Tim Patrick has been great the past couple weeks. Tough matchup against the Kansas City Chiefs, but over the past couple weeks, 8 targets, 4 receptions, 7 targets, 6 receptions in his last 2 matchups.
If Fant plays, yes.
And then Laviska Shenault or Juju Smith-Schuster.
I'm taking Juju there. That is where I draw the line.
It's a good matchup for Shenault.
It is, and Laviska has been showing that he has a great floor just because he gets run, he gets usage. It's just he
He's
doesn't.
a little bit
have
like
this-
Robert Woods, where they use him out of the backfield as well as a wide receiver.
His issue's been ceiling. You haven't seen the ceiling game yet. I will play No, I'm going Juju over both of those guys.
Okay,
Yeah, I can't.
found you
wait.
guys' floor. I like it. All right.
Yeah, this is the game I'm hoping that Juju just rips a deep one. Like, this is almost like the Amari Cooper game. Like, you want him to put up like at least a stat line that looks pretty and ship. Express package, pay the shipping. Doesn't
He's
matter.
out
Get
the
him.
door.
He
Yeah.
gives you
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
he gives you a good game. You get like a 5 to 7% bump on his value, and you're selling him on eBay for a third price. You're paying shipping. Just get him out of there. Last matchup on the first half of the countdown show: Cleveland Browns, Cincinnati Bengals, 50-point over/under. 3-point spread in this one. The Bengals are underdogs. I like this matchup for fantasy, honestly. I mean, the Browns have looked better than Browns in the past. It's one of the best Browns team we've seen in like a decade. I'm interested in the total. I think it could hit. I don't think either of these teams can really cover each other. AJ Green will probably either AJ Green or Tyler Boyd will be drawing Denzel Ward, I imagine, this week.
I think this one is a sneaky under for me, just because I feel like this Burrows look good. He's still a rookie. I think this could still be a little bit of a sloppy matchup, especially with how Baker's been playing.
Sure.
So for me, I'm going under, and I'm just starting studs here. I'm just sticking with studs.
You say you're starting studs. Does that? Where are you? So Brown side of the ball, obviously, it's very linear what you're starting. You're starting Kareem, you're starting Odell, you're starting Hooper. Who are you starting on the Bengals? The Bengals are a little bit more up in the air right now as far as what you consider. Like, has T. Higgins entered the conversation of you're starting him this week for you? He is for me.
Yeah, he's. I am always worried by rookie wide receivers just because I know the history. So, but he has been playing well. So, if I've got him on my team, there's a good chance I need him. So, I'm starting him. I'm starting him. I'm starting Boyd. I'm sitting AJ. And I'm going to start Gio if I really need a running back.
Well, Mixon might not play, so if Mixon doesn't play, Gio is a start for me.
Yeah.
That's the scenario. Like if Mixon plays, I'm like, "Ugh," if he's because he might be hobbled out there. So
Sure.
I don't know how I feel about
I
that.
could see
'cause
Gio having value even if Mixon does play.
I was a Mixon owner. I traded for him at the start of the season when he was hobbled, and he does not play well injured. He's not a Big Ben type.
And the Bengals' offensive line is still average at best, let's say. I'm in kind of the same boat as you, though. T. Higgins is actually the receiver that I'm starting with the most confidence this week. He's been getting a large workload from Burrow, who's looked good. I think as long as Burrow goes out there and has a good game, I'm confident in T. Higgins to have a good game with him because the plan has clearly been to get T. Higgins the ball and get him the ball often. He's taken over as the deep threat on that team. It's not A.J. Green anymore. A.J. Green didn't run that many deep routes last week. I think he's a guy who he should get 6 to 8 targets, and any one of those could go to the house. Well, that'll do it for our countdown show part 1. As always, last part of the show, we got to do a beer check, see where we're all hanging out. I am at a beer and a half.
I am
Half
less.
beer.
I'm less than that. So
I'm
give the floor to
first,
you.
huh? Matt Patricia. Matt. I know you think you're Bill Belichick, but you're not. Start your best players. Why are you running dinosaurs out? I'm not going out and buying Model T because it looks cool so I can use it over my 2010 Honda Accord. Like, play your better plays. DeAndre Swift was drafted highly by you all for a reason. And yes, the usage last week was encouraging. I like it. It shows that you do have a brain and you're not just like, you're just a bobo running out there like, Adrian Peterson with good once. Like, what are you doing? Why is he still getting carries? Why is he on this team? You have DeAndre Swift. You invested a second-round pick in DeAndre Swift. You have Kerryon Johnson, who was a very highly drafted running back from a few years ago. While he is injury prone, he serves very well as a backup running back because he can't get hurt if he's on the bench or working in a limited fashion, or at least it limits his ability to get hurt at least a little bit. Like, I just hate it so much. He has so much talent on his roster, and yes, their line is putrid, but he could just cut. He could literally just cut Adrian Peterson. Like, no one would pick him up. He would just sit out there. I mean, maybe the Eagles would if Miles Sanders is down for a bit. You know, they need someone to stand in and play for 2 weeks until they can cut him. But, like, no one's going to pick him up. Just cut him. Let him go. Let your second-round pick run free and wild. You don't need him. He is not going to help you win games. Stop trying to be Bill Belichick and being like, I have 16 running backs. Which am I going to play? Because you can't scheme as well as him. He's the best coach in the history of football, and that's why it works for him. Other coaches get by starting their best goddamn players. You want to not get fired? Start DeAndre Swift.
I gotta say, I'm feeling like the emperor over here in the background, like good, like just because I feel like I had this discussion with you guys in my one of my takeaways when the season started, and I was not much of a Swift guy when it started, but when it was a full-on three-headed monster with all of them there, yeah, like I said, welcome to being invested in the Detroit backfield is never fun. It's like being a Browns fan.
It's
for
so
real.
hard to get off of DeAndre Swift too, because I watched that entire game last week. Like, that was the primary game I was watching. He looked really good on the field. Like, he looked like their best running back by leaps and bounds. Like he was like a 6th grader playing with toddlers. Like, he's playing like little league football, but he should be in like travel league or whatever it is for. I didn't play football in high school, so I don't know
Travel league.
I don't know what their higher levels of football are called. But like, he looked like a man amongst boys as far as the running backs in that team are concerned, where it's like he was making progress. He was making plays. Yes, it was against the Jaguars, but you know who wasn't making plays against the Jaguars? Adrian Peterson, who ran to like 2.4 yards per carry last week, or Kerryon Johnson, who barely got on the field. Like he snapped, he had an equal share of snaps. He didn't do anything with them. He didn't get touches. It was Adrian Peterson and DeAndre Swift that are getting the touches, and DeAndre Swift was the one that was doing everything with him. Peterson was like, "Oh, I guess I'm near the end zone. Guess I'll fall in." Like,
It's called AAU, by the way.
I'm surprised he didn't break his hip falling into the end zone. Like, he qualifies for an AARP card. Let him go.
Yeah, like I'm just sitting here as the character in
so
the
infuriating.
that stereotypical old man in the movies. Just don't become me. Just
Learn from my mistakes.
As someone who is just making a DraftKings lineup and may or may not have been listening during your rant, I do also have DeAndre Swift in that lineup.
I love his matchup this week.
I'm
fully prepared to get like 4 points out of DeAndre Swift this week because Patricia just uses Peterson over him again for no reason.
This is just going to be, for some reason, this is going to be the carry-on week. Just out of nowhere, because fuck you. It's going to be right in your face. Like, Swift's going to start off good, and then he's just going to, like, you know,
He's gonna fumble or something.
He's going to fumble, he's not going to lose it. And then Patricia's like, well, Bill would do this. And then you'll just see carry on. And
He's just a Bill Bobo. He has no brain in his head. He's just like, on the, like, his headset's just connected to Bill Belichick during the game. He's like, "Bill, what do I do now?" Bill's like, "I don't know. I'm not watching your game. Sit your running back or something." Like,
I'm waiting for both of you guys if you do end up going with him.
As always, follow us on our socials
Yeah.
right here. And like our videos. If you have a question, feel free to shoot us. Our ats are below. Well, mine's below, they're below.
and join us tomorrow as we bring you the second half of the slate, including the afternoon games and the night game. Good luck on your Thursday games, everyone, for people who are starting players in this putrid matchup.